What's up, everybody? Hey, welcome back to the show. Today, I've got my good buddy, Pat Precourt, with us here today. We're going to talk really about kind of mindset. Pat is a master at mindset. I get pumped every time I talk to him because he gets me jazzed up. We're really going to talk about, everything we've been dealing with in the kind of the economy and all the stuff that's going on in our lives today is the importance of mindset, really kind of winning that inner game and the importance of that. So stick with us. It's going to be a great show. Welcome to Real Estate Investing Secrets. We're all looking for freedom and the opportunity to live better, more fulfilling lives. But most of us were trained our entire lives to work for someone else and chase their dreams. How can we use real estate investing as a vehicle to achieve financial freedom? My life is dedicated to answering your real estate investing questions and helping you build an investing business that allows you to change your life and the world around you, and to enable you to turn your dreams of financial freedom into a reality. My name is Mike Hambright from FlipNerd.com, and your questions get answered here on the Real Estate Investing Secrets Show. Hey, Pat, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Happy to be here. Excited to be here and got some really, normally I would say some awesome stuff to share. What I'm going to say today, man, this is critically important stuff that we're sharing today.
Yep.
This stuff matters.
Even if we had not been going through these issues we've been going through here lately, mindset is so critical. You know real estate investors as well as I do. We've been around a long time, talked to a lot of people, coach and mentor a lot of people. Success is, the people that are the most successful always have their mind right? The people that crash and burn don't, right? And so this stuff is important even in a normal kind of market, but even more important right now because you and I both know if you're watching TV, if you're out and about, it's real easy to get your mind screwed up right now, right?
It's more so than ever, We're one thing that we're not well designed for, that's uncertainty in our lives. We're just not wired for uncertainty very well. And whenever there's uncontrollable circumstances around us, if we let that stuff get out of control, right, it nets uncertainty. And we don't respond to that very well. Let me ask you a question, Mike. And I'll ask the viewers here too. Do you feel that the way you feel affects the way you think?
For sure.
Awesome. And I think everybody would agree. Then do you also believe the way you think affects your decision making?
No doubt. No doubt.
Do you think your decision making has an input on your action taking?
Absolutely.
And your action taking on the results you get, right? So
doubt.
Now we just created a direct pipeline, direct connection between the way we feel and the results that we get. And you want to know what's nowhere in the middle of that? Circumstances out here. This is all how we choose to respond to the external circumstances that are outside of our control. And I guess that's kind of where I want to start this conversation here. If we don't win the inner battle, we'll always lose the outer battle, because we just agreed that the way we feel determines the way we think, decide, act, and the results we get, which means no matter what's going on out here, if our emotions are out of whack, right, we can't play that game. So then the big question is, well, how do we get this mindset stuff straight? Now, don't confuse or don't mistake mindset for being positive. They are not the same. They are not synonymous. They aren't even in harmony, right? Mindset is not, hey, positivity and optimism. Positivity and optimism is important, but also we have to understand that if we don't take responsibility for our current situation, own where we're at, creating a false sense of optimism or positivity will do more harm than good. Because that's effectively to bury your head in the sand, pretending that something is not the way it is. Jim Stockdale said this best, and if you guys want, you can research what we call the Stockdale paradox, right? When under great stress or great crisis, he said, you know what? Never lose faith that you will prevail in the end, but at the exact same time, take full accountability for your current circumstances, no matter how bad they might be. And what this does, it takes our focus off of the uncontrollables, the things out here, and puts them back on the things that we can control, which are, the things that are back inside here.
Yeah.
So you look at our current environment. Would you agree there's some uncontrollable events out there?
Sure.
Foundation of fear is rooted in these three different places. One of them is when we have something that's unpredictable. And I think you'd agree, we have an unpredictable circumstance floating around right now. Second one is when it's uncontrollable. And I'd say, yeah, this is equally uncontrollable. And the third one is when we believe it to be chronic, when we believe it to be ongoing with no end. And this one hits all three boxes. That's where this fear comes up, right? The fear does not fit well in our long-term play. And it's fair to spend a couple minutes on fear. And they'll take this out of the guru world, like fearless, right? Is probably one of the silliest things I've ever seen gurus come up with. Fear plays an amazing role in our lives, and it's a gift that we're given for a reason, such as you're walking down a walking trail in the woods, and a giant grizzly bear jumps out, rah, wants to eat you, right? Fear overtakes our body. But what that does, it triggers our sympathetic nervous system, which triggers our adrenals. That dumps all this adrenaline into our body. We become superhuman in the moment. We get really focused and energized and strong and fast so we can defend ourselves and protect ourselves. That's what fear is for, right? It's a sprint. It's used in a short period of time. Now, if you were looking at this like a race car, as in like a drag race car on a strip, right? That's just racing a quarter mile, adrenaline is equal to the nitrous that you put into that motor. What is normally a pretty normal motor, you pump in this adrenaline in this nitrous and thing flies down the track. But guess what? When you run a car hard like that, each night, a motor like that running that hard with all that nitrous, it needs to recover. The mechanics go back, they rip that motor apart, and they rebuild it every night they race that car. You and I are no different. When we trigger that sympathetic nervous system, we drain our adrenals, right? We dump all that chemical into our body. It burns out our body. We're not meant to run long periods of time. And this is where the abuse comes in, Mike, right? We didn't see a grizzly bear today. I don't know about you. I didn't see one. But a lot of people are running around scared in a state of fear, which puts our body into this fight or flight mode, but not just for a sprint, for an extended period of time. So now we're dumping nitrous all the time into this motor. But the challenge is it's not made to run like that, right? And ultimately what I'm getting at here is we break down our natural immune system, our ability to fight off this one thing that we're so afraid of.
Right.
Gets worse. And I'm sure you've heard this from, because you work with so many people. Like, man, I slept like crap last night. I was anxious last night. Well, when we allow these thoughts to carry over to nighttime, and we wake up in the middle of the night worried, in a state of stress, anxiety, we're not allowing the recovery to take place. Nighttime sleep is when we're supposed to rebuild and replenish our adrenals, allow this stuff to recover so the next day we're fully armed again. And we're not allowing it to happen. So now we've taken fear, which is an amazing protective device, a tool for us, and we're abusing it by allowing ourselves to stay in a state of fear, stress, fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system all day long. And then we run around with what's considered a chronic adrenal fatigue system. And this leads to disease. It makes us vulnerable to viruses when normally we'd be able to defend them off. Does this all kind of make sense?
For sure. Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Cool. And I'm sharing this at this point in time because we speak so much about how to avoid coming in contact with the virus. But by now we've seen every day more and more people have the virus that didn't know they had it. So how about we talk about preparing ourselves so when we come in contact with the virus, our immune system will take care of it for us, right? Seems like another thing that should be on the table right now. Now, you say, well, how do we handle stress, anxiety, fear when it's everywhere, right? So I'm going to give you two sides of this thing, right? The first one is dealing with it straight on and the cause of it. When we try to control something that is outside of our control, it immediately triggers this anxiety, this stress, and this fear. Okay. So if I was to give you an exercise, I say pull out a sheet of paper, draw a line right down the middle. At the top of the left-hand side, write controllable, and the top of the right-hand side, write uncontrollable. And I do recommend everybody do this exercise. You don't have to do it right now. Go ahead and write down everything you can think of that is outside of your control, that you cannot directly control. Start with the virus. Start with how long it's going to last. Throw in the economy. Throw in decisions that our politicians make. Throw in the overreaction by your best friend over there. Throw in the weather. Throw in trying to control other people. Put it all down. And we're noting it so that we can be uniquely aware that we cannot focus on any of this stuff, because that pushes us back into stress, anxiety, fear. Now, on the left-hand side, write down the things that we can control. And you're going to come up with a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm going to tell you 3 that are critical, okay? And this is like the core to this little thing, right? We can control the way we think, feel, and act. We own those 3. Not only can we control them, we're responsible for them. Now watch this, right? Controllable environment, uncontrollable environment out here, we can't control it, but we are always in control of how we choose to react to it through the way we think, feel, and act. Now, I asked you earlier, Mike, does the way you feel affect the way you think? You said yes, and you're right, right? But let me ask you another question. Do you think that the way you think can change the way you feel?
Yep, no doubt.
Oh, yeah. Guess what, man? We just gained more control. Now, a unique superhuman power that we have that no other mammal has that's walking the face of this earth. A dog, for instance, right, can only react and respond automatically. Doesn't even think about stuff. It just does, right? And we are not much different in our first response. Something happens, we have a triggered response, an emotion that automatically creates a thought pattern. Happens so fast, happens out of habit. But this is our superhuman power that many of us don't use. We can actually, before we react to that automatically triggered emotion and thought, we can stop, think about what we're thinking about, ask ourselves, does that thought get me to where I want to go? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, we can choose to inject another thought that triggers another emotion that reinforces the thought, decision, action, result that we're trying to get in the first place. We're in control. Never are we not in control of our outcome, regardless of what happens out here. When I stepped into the MMA fighting cage for the first time, I was 42 years old. And I was sitting in a locker room, Mike, and this is right before we went out. Like I was up next to fight. I was all by myself. I was sitting up on the table. My legs were dangling over the side of the table. And I must have obviously had a nervous look on my face, right? And this guy's name was Mikey Burnett. He's an old school UFC, no holds barred guy from back in the day. Comes up to me. He was in our camp, puts his hand on my knees, looks at me directly in the eye. He goes, Pat, I can see you're thinking right now. You're nervous. But here's the thing. That thing you're focused on right now, that guy out there in the cage, has nothing to do with this fight. He's just a circumstance. This fight is won or lost right here. You got to make a decision. That advice never left me because it applies to everything in life. Life is nothing but a set of circumstances that we can't control. That's never changed. This is just another one. And we can choose to allow it to own us, or we can choose how we're going to respond and react to it. I own a gym back here at home, right? And a couple weeks ago, they closed our door, locked our door shut, Monday night, 8 o'clock. You guys can't do what you do. And what we did was over 300 classes a month. That's how we deliver our services, face to face. By Tuesday morning, that's a circumstance we couldn't change. By Tuesday morning, we had aired our first online virtual class. Now we do about 20 classes a week and have an amazing following. We kept our clients, even though the circumstances completely changed the way we did business.
Awesome.
And that's the way we said, stop, right? Let's decide how we're going to act and react to a circumstance that we can't change. Now, I know gyms, Mike, that are shut down. They're singing a blues, right? That this happened to them, and oh, poor me. And I'm not judging, right? I get it. But when it comes, when we get to the other side of this, and we will shortly, we're all going to wake up one day and we're going to have to account for how we chose to react to what just happened.
Yeah.
And you know as well as I do, this event is in the midst of defining some people.
No
Some
doubt.
people are being defined as freaking heroes right now, while others are like, wow, we thought you were bigger than that. But your true colors are now coming through.
For sure.
So I guess that's one part of this, how we deal with anxiety and fear and stress, right? Let's focus on controlling what we can, let go of what we can't. The other part is this, and I, to this day, do this. It used to be just now and again, and now I find I do it every day because it feels good, right? I call it win the morning, win the day. When I get up in the morning, before I allow anything to get through this thick skull, and this is a thick skull, before I allow anything in, emails, text messages, news messages, anything like that, before I allow anything in, I build myself up to a superhero. I use music to do it. I remind myself how powerful I am, how in control I am, how regardless of what happens out here, if I win in here, I win out there. So that by the time I'm faced with all the challenges, I'm at 100%. I got this. And I go day by day, right? Win the morning, win the day. Why would I want to go in at all compromise into these wars? And no doubt, each day has got to be looked at that sometimes. There's some heavy stuff we get involved with. I understand, particularly right here, right now. I have an 83-year-old mom who lives right across the street from her. I'm her caregiver, Mike, right? This is not easy for us. We're Irish Catholic. We hug all day long. It's what we do. We're touchy-feely. That's how we interact, right? Everybody's together all the time. She's sequestered in her house. I service her, but I don't go in her house. I deliver stuff to her door. She puts her garbage out for me to get. We talk on the phone, right? It sucks. But this is how we're choosing to adapt to this situation. And we will come out the other end stronger for it. But I told my mom's stubborn as hell, right? Right after we canceled St. Patty's Day dinner a few weeks ago, right? That she lives for. So, Ma, point blank, here's our reality. We're going to get through this. But guess what? If you go to the hospital, you're likely not coming back out. So zip it. Stay inside. We got this, right? And that's sometimes how you have to make some tough decisions. But guess what? As a result of choosing to deal with it this way, we're gonna come out just fine.
Yep. I think everything you've been talking about here is our current situation of this coronavirus and the economy and stuff like that. But the truth is, this is applied towards. We all wake up every day or every week, or we're all dealing with different struggles. It could be business, could be personal, it could be job related, it could be health related, it could be a lot of things, right? We've kind of wrapped it around our current situation here, but this could be wrapped around. Everybody always has a current situation, right? We always have something we're fighting. It could be your fight could be something that other people look at and say that's nothing. It might be nothing compared to somebody that has serious health issues. When your fight is, hey, I'm crushing it in my business, but I'm trying to 10x it. It could be whatever your struggle is. These things all apply, right?
We all have circumstances all the time, and that's kind of the big takeaway here. In terms of circumstance, we don't have any additional. We just have different circumstances. That's it, and we can make them scarier than they are, right? If we choose to, but that doesn't serve us. It's just another circumstance, and that's how we have to see it. It's in that uncontrollable bucket, albeit, right? Which simply means we focus on what we can control. Compare the level of uncertainty here to the uncertainty that Admiral James Stockdale went through from the Stockdale paradox that I mentioned earlier, right? He was confined at one point in a 3-foot by 6-foot concrete cell with no windows, with no idea in the world when he would be tortured next. He was the highest ranking prisoner of war. He was beaten 30 plus times. They broke his leg so many times he couldn't walk again when he finally did leave this camp. He could never walk on his own again. He never knew, even if we were winning the war, he had no outside communication. Didn't know if he'd ever see his wife again, if he'd ever be home to see his family and friends again. Never knew if he'd get out, when he'd get out. Talk about uncertainty. And he never created this false positivity that everything would just be okay. He knew he was going through war, literally in this case, right?
Yep.
And they're focused on just what he had in front of him. And his commitment was, if I strengthen the guys around me, as one will become stronger, and it'll increase our opportunity to get out here. Now, the commitment he made to himself, and this is the big difference between fear and faith. It's worth bringing up, right? Fear and faith, the one thing that they have in common is they're both made up. Neither of them is anchored in fact. If it's fact, it'd be a belief, right? But when it's unknown, we either got to have faith, right? Or it's on the fear side where it's unknown and we make things up. We fear loss, fear failure, fear rejection, fear the unknown. These are all things that didn't happen yet, but our mind's making up. And faith is something that didn't happen yet, but we are committed to with absolute certainty that result. And that's the difference. One leaves us in an abyss of I don't know. One leaves us with absolute certainty, faith. And that we can anchor on to. And John, that's the meaning of the paradox for John Stockdale. You don't be optimistic. You have faith that you will prevail, and you focus on your brutal facts, whatever your reality is, and take care of business on the things we can control. And that's where lies the paradox. And that's why he survived. So think about the level of uncertainty that someone in that situation might have compared to what we're dealing with. Guess what? I'm pretty certain sun's coming up tomorrow, right? Clouds are going to be out. I'm going to be up in vertical. These are things I can count on. He couldn't count on that.
Yeah.
Not even the simplest things, right?
Pat, let me ask you, how do you, if people are resonating with this message and they understand what they need to do, right, is shift their mindset and how to deal with these things. How do you act as a leader to instill these things in the people around you? Let's just say for the most basic circumstance is your family members, your spouse, like people that you deal with all day long, because the people that you deal with the most, those that you've surrounded yourself with, which for many of us are families, they heavily influence these fears, these anxieties, these things, right? So talk a little bit about how to do that as a family unit or as a small business unit with the people around you.
So, I mean, I did it with my family, so I can tell you exactly what I did. And it's very similar.
Show us the way.
Yeah, very similar to what I just explained. So I have my wife. My wife and I have been married. We'll be 27 years in June, right? So we've been together for quite a while. I have a 22-year-old boy. My Samantha's 18, sophomore in college, and then my youngest is 15, a freshman in high school. So I have 3 kids in 3 different areas of their life, right? And they're all home right now because of this. We're together. I had this talk with them because you can feel the angst growing in the house. I said, we got to have a conversation here, right? Sat him down. I said, listen, I can't sit here and tell you when this is going to be over. Don't know. Don't know how long. I don't know what exactly is going to take place over the next, what I think is, few weeks of time. But this is what I can tell you. If we stay together, right, and stay strong for one another, no matter what, we'll get through just fine. We'll be good on the other side. Let's focus on what's in our control. Number one, what do we have to do to stay healthy through this? And let's work on that plan, right? And the social distancing, getting proper sleep, diet, hygiene, simple things, right? Simple vitamins, vitamin D and vitamin C. These are all things now in our control that we're like, all right, we got a plan here, right? Let's first focus on staying healthy. Good. All right. Now, who else do we have to bring along with us here? Let's bring them in. And we all become mini leaders in the process. This thing, and I know you know this faction, Mike, when we elevate someone around us, we can't help but to be on that elevator at the exact same time. And that's this all ships rise in a rising tide methodology, right? And I told them that there's zero room here for panic. And there's zero room for a lack of, they hear these words out of me all the time, so I can use them with them, emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence is nothing more than, in its simplest terms, being aware of our own emotions and managing them, not letting them run us. And that's kind of what we talked about earlier, right? When emotion is triggered, don't just react on it. Stop. Pause, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, is that reaction, that thought, a good thought or not? You know, I was talking to somebody the other day, Mike, and he said, man, Pat, I'm just a little more on edge. You know, it's bad enough that I have road rage, but now I get triggered so easily. I'm like, I'm going to tell you something. I'm just going to speak frankly with you. I'm going to call you out on this. You don't have road rage. That's an excuse. The truth is you like getting angry, and you got to stop. You got to stop and ask yourself at some point, does this really serve you, letting yourself getting elevated? You say, what are you talking about? Like, you just told me you got pissed off because somebody cut you off. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Well, stop. You let them ruin your day. There's no way they can force you to be angry. You got to choose to do that. And likely you got home that night and you brought that ball of bad energy into your house and attacked your family with it. Do they deserve that? Right? And how do you think they're going to respond? Right? Our family does not remember a word of what we say, rarely what we do, but they always, 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 always remember the way we make them feel. And that's where memories are anchored in feeling. So as leaders, Mike, you, those around you, right? Remind people about that when we come out the other end of this, man, they're not going to remember all the words in between. They're going to remember how we felt around one another. That I feel a sense of security, sense of strength, optimism, not positivity, but optimism, knowing that we got this. Let's just stick together and elevate each other. So this is the conversation I had with my family. And as for those listening, same conversation. Let them know we will get through this. And it's going to take a little hard work. We might get a little bloodied along the way, but we'll be okay. Meaning, don't pretend that this is just a walk in the park. It's not. It's legit. It's real. It's here, right? We don't know where it's going to go. So let's not pretend it's something that, you know, made up and it's no big deal. It's about as real as it gets, right? And we can still choose how we're going to respond to it in all situations. Does that help at all, Mike?
No, that's fantastic. I think, you know, people that are listening to this right now, you know, I don't know the percentage, the majority of people here are leaders on some level. They're leading their family, leading small businesses as real estate investors. We're all leading a group of people around us as well, right? And some of us on bigger levels, if you're coaching or mentoring or running a mastermind, things like that, right? These things are important to know. I think we owe it to ourselves, to the people around us, to be that leader, right? And be that kind of source of optimism, as you said. And so I think that's one of the big things. You see a lot of stuff on social media. People speak so definitively as if they know, you know, this is what's going to, I saw some guy yesterday. He's like, here's exactly where the stock market's going to bottom out. This guy, I know this guy. He has no idea what he's talking. Like, why would you even start saying stuff like that? And it was low. It was like, it's going to go down to 9,000 or like, he doesn't know. Like, just people are just saying stuff. And I think it's easy for people everybody's a medical expert these days, all these things. And I think being able to send that message of, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm optimistic that we will find our way through this. Right. And we got to stay together.
The sun's going to be back out. We're going to be on the other end of this. And you know, I could tell you my prediction on it, which would be irrelevant because it's no more fact-based than anyone else's, you know?
Right.
So I keep that to myself, but it works good for me, you know?
Yeah.
And I'll say one more thing on leadership, Mike. And this is where, like I said, this is where we see a lot of people's true color, a lot of transparency coming through. You know, it's easy to lead in times of peace.
Yeah.
It's where the leaders stand in a time of war. And this would be akin to going through war right now, uncertainty, challenge, right? And when there's when the way we lead in peace is completely, or the way we lead in war is completely non-congruent with the way we lead in peace, that's where we start seeing the breakdown in leadership, right? Because the way I act in peace and the way I act in war should be the same. My decision-making should be the same. The way I operate, my elevation and emotion should all be the same. Shouldn't change. Because that means if it does, I'm no longer in charge. I'm being pushed around, being bullied by the circumstances around me. And that's not how we lead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. One of the things, for those of you that are listening right now, I think one of the things that Pat said that was really, if you listen to this whole thing, not to forget, is to really kind of define, he even recommended laying out what can you control and what can you not control? Because it's so easy for us in these days of cable news, TV shows that are really not news anymore. They're more opinion than anything, to believe that you have control over things that you don't, or to instill this fear in you. And the truth is we're all a little bit worried about what will happen here. But if you allow that to take over and control how you act, then it's almost, because some of the stuff almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because you assume it's fact when at this point it's just opinion. So if you can't control it, you need to focus on what you can control, right?
Yeah. And I love the fact you brought up the word worry, because I didn't. I kind of forgot to, right? But it's a common word. Mixes in a little with stress, a little with anxiety. The shortest path out of worry is a plan. The shortest path out of worry is a plan. And that's where you look on the left-hand side of that sheet, identify the things we can control, how you're going to control it, and when you're going to begin. Write a freaking plan. Write down how you're going to get more sleep. Write down how you're going to change your diet so you're prepared to reimburse your immune system. Write down how you're going to your hygiene system so you're going to stay clean as best you can, right? The path out of worry is a plan. A lack of a plan in a state of uncertainty, we can't deal with that. Yeah, we're just not wired to operate.
We're just flailing then, right? We don't know what we're doing, and we're kind of human, and human nature is to take the easiest path, which is to be freaked out, right?
Yeah. We're naturally default right to a fear state. So fear is there for a reason. This is not the time. That save it for the grizzly bear, right? This is not. We don't need fear right now.
Yeah. Pat, if folks want to learn more about you, you and I have been friends for years. Where do they go to learn more about you and what you do? You're really
Google my name. I'm on Facebook.
Usually I have people give kind of an intro, and we kind of jumped right into it. But Pat has been in the real estate space for many, many years, a real estate investor for a long time, really well known throughout the industry. And he's really kind of not transition, but kind of over time has become a real leader on kind of peak performance, mindset performance, things like that. So I know you have a lot of great things to share. Where do people go to learn more?
Yeah, you can Google me or follow me on Facebook, but we do have a website. It's just my name, PatrickPrecourt.com. So just Patrick and then Precourt, just like it sounds, .com. Super easy. We have a lot of cool little neat giveaways. And I got a, by the time this airs, we will have a new ebook that basically takes all this stuff and just puts it in a simple order, Mike.
Nice.
That I'm just going to give away to people. Just a path to follow, right? I was like, problem, solution, boom. Simple.
Awesome. Everybody that's out there, hope you're doing well. Stay safe, stay positive, stay optimistic. What we talked about today. Make sure you're, if you're gonna watch things, this is really the perfect time to educate yourself, train your mind, do all those things. Make sure you're filling it with not filling it with junk food, right? There's a lot of stuff out there that'll drive you crazy. So appreciate you spending time with us here today. Pat, thanks for sharing your insights and your knowledge with us today.
Appreciate it. I'm going to remind everybody, Mike, right? At the end of the day, we still live right now in the most opportunistic, abundant time in history. This is just one little speck of time right now, right? So let's keep that in context. We'll get through this and we'll be better for it.
Absolutely. For those of you watching, thanks again for joining us. If you haven't yet subscribed, wherever you're watching right now, you can subscribe. You can watch everything on flipnerd.com. We have over 1,500 video podcasts over the last 6.5 years. And which truthfully, there's not much that we haven't talked about at this point and all that time. And of course, you can watch us or listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, anywhere you could possibly imagine we're syndicating. So if you subscribe out there, leave us a positive review. We'd appreciate it. Till then, stay safe. See you on the next episode.
Peace, guys.
Thanks for listening to today's show. There are 3 ways I can help you start or grow your real estate investing business. If you're a new investor and just getting started, the Flip Nerd Investor Coaching Program is the most effective program in America. I've been coaching and mentoring new real estate investors for 10 years, and my students have literally purchased thousands and thousands of properties. Many of them started with little to no experience at all. Our program is a paint-by-numbers program where we tell you exactly what to do week by week to make sure that you don't get distracted on your way to results. We show you how to build a real business, not just create another job for yourself. New memberships are limited. You can learn more and apply or schedule a call with me and my team at flipnerd.com/coaching. If you're an experienced investor doing a minimum of 10 deals a year, up to 500 deals a year or more, or have a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio already, you should check out our powerful Investor Fuel Real Estate Investor Mastermind. Over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors are members, and it's not uncommon for our members to 2 to 5x their business just from getting around other members at Investor Fuel. At Investor Fuel, each of us are business advisors to one another's businesses, but we don't stop at business. We focus heavily on becoming better people and living fuller lives. If you're looking for fuel for your business or fuel for your life, please check out investorfuel.com. Applications and interviews are required, as most investors are not a fit for our community. Please learn more at investorfuel.com. If you're not ready for coaching or masterminds but eager to start learning more about investing, please join our private Facebook group by visiting flipnerd.com/Facebook. New members get access to free training from us right here at flipnerd.com, and it's a community to safely ask your questions, a great place to get started. Simply go to flipnerd.com/Facebook to request your access today.